Hi, my name is Erland, and don't worry, it's a weird name where I live as well. I'm here to tell you about Ambrosia, a dark fantasy role-playing game that I created. To explain what this game is all about, I'd like to present you with 5 mission statements I composed to guide me through the development process. So let's dive right into it with mission statement number 1.
Ambrosia is a dark fantasy role-playing game based on the history, folklore and character of the Low Countries.
I'm from Belgium, and together with the Netherlands and Luxembourg, we were better known in medieval times as the Low Countries. Together, we formed a border region between some of the most powerful military and political powers in medieval Europe. We had Scandinavia in the north, Germany in the east, France in the south, and England in the west. Because of their strategic importance, the Low Countries were often invaded by one of their neighbors to form a base of operations. So as you can imagine, it wasn't all tulips, windmills and milkmaids. The people of the Low Countries were constantly subjected to war and strife. Take a minute to Google the work of some of the local medieval artists like Hieronymus Bos or Pieter Bruegel de Oude. Their names are spelled like this. You'll see how messed up this region really was. As Ambrosia is based on the history and folklore of the Low Countries, it turned out as a very dark and dangerous fantasy setting where bad things will happen to good people. If you can't handle that, the Hello Kitty role-playing game is right that way. Although Ambrosia still presents you with a fictional fantasy setting, I did my best to make it as historically accurate as possible. Most noticeable in the morals and values of the peoples inhabiting it. Many role-playing games basically depict a 21st century setting in which people just dress funny and magic has taken the place of technology. But I wanted to give you the feeling that you're truly walking around in medieval times, both wondrous and terrifying.
Ambrosia is a storytelling game in which players actively work together with the game master to advance the story.
With Ambrosia, I'd like to bring the element of storytelling back to role-playing games, where many modern RPGs have tactical combat at their core, kill the monsters, take the loot, move on to the next one, wash, rinse and repeat. Ambrosia offers you a compelling interactive story and treats the player characters as true protagonists. Each player is presented with a piece of background info linking them directly to the storyline and giving them a believable motivation to advance it. No more party of strangers in town looking at an adventurer's wanted sign at the local inn saying, "Where's that dark wizard so we can defeat him? Because reasons?" No more ancient evil waking up from its slumber to destroy the world, because I guess that's what ancient evils do, right? No. I'm proud to present you with coherent storylines where nothing is as it seems and unconventional twists lurk around every corner. In a game where having both a brain and a heart is no longer optional. Villains have realistic reasons to do whatever they're doing, and players are given the tools to make sure they can add the distinctiveness of their individual characters to the story. If you think it would be prudent for your character to know a specific piece of information or couldn't possibly fail at that jump, you're given specific tools to adjust the roll of the dice in your favor. This makes it less a game of chance and more a game of true storytelling, in which the story advances with the choices the players make. And that makes for a nice segue into mission statement 3.
Ambrosia provides you with a living, breathing setting that evolves according to choices made by the players.
The story of Ambrosia is composed of so-called chronicles, complete campaigns that allow your characters to advance from minimum to maximum level. A chronicle will take about 26 game sessions of 3 to 4 hours each to complete, the idea being that if you play once every 2 weeks, you'll finish one of these in a year's time. Every chronicle contains a completely interactive and open-ended story in which the players will decide what happens next. No more mindless railroading or repetitive dungeon hacking. Your decisions will affect how the setting evolves, and it will react to your actions as well. Player characters aren't the super-powered epic heroes you're used to, but fully developed three-dimensional protagonists of the story. They've loved and lost, are both molded and scarred by experiences past, and have a distinct moral compass that directs their actions. You'll find no murder hobos or glass cannons in this game. Only real, living people trying to do what they perceive as being right. There's a game mechanic specifically used to make the characters' world-altering decisions in one chronicle have an impact on the ones following it. But it also works on a smaller scale. Minstrels will travel around the regions to sing about the heroic or vile deeds your characters are held responsible for. And in the absence of internet or television, gossiping is one of the few things people can do to keep in touch with the outside world. All this makes for a living setting that doesn't remain static, but evolves along with what you as a player decide to do. And in the end, this could be the story of how the world was saved, but it could also be the story of how the world was destroyed.
Ambrosia is an affordable role-playing game that challenges veteran role players, but is also accessible to new players.
This is the manual for Ambrosia, and in its pages is all the information you're usually getting in 3 books: Player's Handbook, a Dungeon Master's Guide, and a Monster Manual. Also, there will never be any expansions for this. What you see is what you get. No manuals with those extra player races and classes that are actually stronger than those in the core rules, so you'll need to buy it just to compete with that one min-maxer at the table. You know who I'm talking about. No extra monster manuals containing hastily converted creatures from a popular mythos that just became public domain. Not to call any names, but it's Lovecraft. No expensive miniatures required to represent complex tactical battle situations. The only thing you need is your imagination. With this project, I wanted to create a role-playing game that is easily accessible for people of all walks of life, not restricted by wealth or social status. I will only be writing more chronicles in the future, the complete story of Ambrosia being composed of 7 campaigns, and each will contain rules for a specific situation. Player characters will discover new monsters not detailed in the manual, and magics not previously known in the setting. And most importantly, uncover pieces of information that piece together the puzzle of the metaplot. Ambrosia will challenge veteran players with its immersive and interactive storylines, while remaining accessible for new players with its easy-to-learn game mechanics, and adds tips and tricks for new game masters on how to best set up a specific scene whilst creating the right atmosphere, even providing you with backup plans when players make those unconventional choices. Every chronicle also comes complete with a soundtrack. A set of Spotify playlists with background music you can use for each individual chapter of the story.
Ambrosia originated from old-school role-playing games, but also incorporates new developments in the genre.
I've been role-playing from a very young age, since halfway through the 1980s, and analyzing different systems made me think critically and often, as many role-playing groups do, make up house rules to accommodate for flaws. Ambrosia is the culmination of those criticisms, and is, to me, what a role-playing game should be. For me personally, the biggest inspirations for Ambrosia were Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, most importantly the Enemy Within campaign, and Vampire: The Masquerade. But other games also provided me with elements I used in Ambrosia. Using magic, for example, takes its toll on your psyche and can cause insanity in its users. We don't use hit points, but a mechanic of wounds that cause your character to deteriorate the more damage you receive. Not only physical damage, but also mental and even social damage that determines how the setting perceives you. Ambrosia was originally written in Dutch and is already a success in Belgium and the Netherlands. But now we need your support to have it translated into English so we can distribute it all over the world, so everyone can experience this unique role-playing game. If you have any questions or comments, you can email me at this address or just comment in the section below. Thank you very much.